I'd like to call this regular session of the Kettering Board of Education to order. Today is December 11th, 2018. It is 5 p.m. We are in Recital Hall at Kettering Fairmont. I wanted to remind everyone that the mission of Kettering City Schools, in partnership with the family and community, is to guarantee a superior educational learning experience for all students by providing a positive and innovative learning environment while responsibly utilizing resources. Mr. Shaw, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Henderson?
Present.
Mrs. Parks?
Here.
Mrs. Kane?
Here.
Sorry, out of order.
Okay.
Ms. Gilmore?
Here.
Mr. Ambrose?
Here.
Item number 2, adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, Mr. Shaw, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Gilmore?
Here.
Mr. Ambrose?
Yes.
Mrs.
Here.
Parks?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes. Item number 3, Mr. Henderson.
I'll move we enter into executive session for the purpose of considering the employment of a public employee or official and to consider the purchase of property for public purposes.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, Mr. Shaw, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Ambrose?
Yes.
Mrs. Parks?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes. At this time, we will move into executive session, and we will return at 6 o'clock to continue our meeting in open session. Okay, we are entering back into open session. It is 6:02. If we will move to item 4 on the agenda, if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 5, minutes of our last board meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of November 27th, 2018.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, are there any revisions to the minutes as they were presented or posted? Hearing none, Mr. Shaw, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Parks?
Yes.
Mr. Ambrose?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes. Item number 6, under recognition and reports, there is a facilities update. Mr. Lackey, would you join us at the microphone? And you can have a cookie while you're at the microphone, too. And pass them around.
I wasn't ready. I've got some pictures and drawings that we're going to show up on the screen if you want to come down to the front row or at least turn around. That picture there on the screen page is kind of the latest rendering for half the lobby of the auditorium that we just got. Here's some projects I want to talk about tonight, update the board on where we are with the auditorium project, talk about the CTC and KAP building that we're building here at Fairmont, where that project is, the elementary school additions, and also the process for putting in the door barricade devices. Those last 3, of course, are all items that we talked to the community about during the course of our campaign for our operating levy this fall. So we are moving forward quickly to get those projects up and going. Just an update on the auditorium. Our new completion date for the auditorium, fresh from yesterday, is February 1st. There are still a couple items which could cause that to slip by a week or two. We have slipped considerably already. That's kind of been, there's not one thing or one contractor or one issue that's caused that. It has been just a culmination of a lot of issues from the beginning of the project to weather to staffing to getting deliveries on time, and it's just been a lot of things, and you lose a day or two here and another 3 days here, and suddenly you're 6-8 weeks behind. But we're doing fine. Some of the milestones where we are right now, the glass curtain wall, if you've been by it in the last few days, is installed except for a couple pieces. The sound clouds on the inside are being completed. Seats, the install is supposed to start December 26th on the schedule, and work is ongoing in all areas of the auditorium right now. There's a picture of the front. You can see the glass curtain walls are installed. This is the lobby, standing at the north end of the lobby looking towards the south. Glass curtain walls. This is a view from the front of the auditorium. As you'll see in another picture, I was unable to stand on the stage because it is partitioned off to keep the dust down. So this is standing in the front right corner of the stage, looking back towards the back of the auditorium. You can see the sound clouds above. This is standing right at the back of the auditorium, looking towards the stage. Like I mentioned, the stage is enclosed at this point. As you can see, there are a lot of lifts still in the auditorium. There's a lot of talk about getting those lifts out of the auditorium as soon as possible so certain work can get done, but some of the work is still requiring those to be there. They were painting the clouds as we were there, as I was there yesterday and taking these pictures. This is the, excuse me, the hallway, backstage. Just to the right there is a doorway into the makeup dressing room, but they've got the ceiling grid in here, obviously. The spinal paint is on this. So this is very close to completion in this back area of the auditorium here. This is the furthest along that we are. It's kind of a hard picture to tell. This is the orchestra pit. What you can see above there is the stage above it, and then to the left you can see the opening out to the auditorium. So it is a significantly large area where the orchestra will be able to be down there and play, many of them under the stage and then up towards the opening. Much different than what we had in the past. This is a picture of the stage. What you can see on that back wall there is all the equipment for the rigging so that you can move the stages, pieces up and down, through into the fly loft up and down. So they're moving along. The wood stage floor is down. But you can see from all the pictures, there are people working in all the pictures. There are toolboxes and lifts in all the pictures. So there is active work going on everywhere in the auditorium. So there's a lot of work left to be done. Moving on to the CTC KAP building here at Fairmont. When we went through the design of the auditorium, the board approved Richley & Associates as the architect of record for the district. So we are not required to go out to the process to hire Richley & Associates again, being that we declared them that at that time. So they are taking on the CTC KAP building project for us. We've been working on programming for them, with them. Those are the three programs that will be in the new facility: construction trades, cosmetology, and the alternative program. Those are the timelines. Working backwards, we want the facility to be open beginning in August of 2020. And the new programs of cosmetology will start then. Construction trades will move into that facility that summer. The current construction trades space will probably remain vacant for a year while we convert that to a space for the medical assisting program, which probably then will start in the summer of 21. That we have talked, is it possible to convert that space over that summer of 20, and it would be very, very tight to be able to do that. By the time we get construction trades moved out of that space, get it converted, get it ready for a new program within, basically we'd have June and July to do that. And we're not optimistic that that could be completed in time. So that program probably won't start until the following year, which may not be a terrible thing to start one new program one year and one the following year. This is an aerial view of campus, showing where the new facility will be located. It is to the west of what is West Unit today. There will be a connecting hallway between the two. While it's a little hard to read there, the orange is where we're projecting the cosmetology program would be, alternative school in red, and construction trades in the blue. All of those would have separate entrances. Cosmetology, of course, they will have the public coming in to get services from students as far as haircuts and those kind of services. But each of the areas would have a separate entrance. We will maintain the parking lot that is to the west there, just south of the new facility, and also to add some additional parking to the north to accommodate some parking needs for this new facility. This is kind of a layout of what that facility may look like. I can assure you in the end it will not look exactly like this because we still have a lot of programming to do, but this is just a very initial pass on how those spaces might be used in a facility. Particularly alternative school, we have not done enough programming to know exactly what kind of spaces and what that'll look like. Construction trades and the cosmetology might be a little closer to what it will ultimately look like, but I'm sure none of them will look like this in the final version of this project because we still are doing a lot of programming on that. Moving on to the additions at the elementary schools. We went through and met with all the elementary principals early in the fall and talked to them about being able to accommodate all-day kindergarten. And we determined that we would be able to accommodate it at all of our locations so we could have all-day kindergarten at every building in the fall of 2019. There are a couple places where it's going to be tight, and we're going to be using some space in those buildings which we would like to free up once again. So the places that we are really going to be tight on space are Southdale Elementary and Orchard Park Elementary School. So we are definitely going to put an addition on Southdale Elementary. We are looking at either Orchard Park or Oakview to do an addition there to accommodate space. If we did it at Oakview, we would move probably some special education programs from Orchard Park to Oakview to free up space at Orchard Park to free their ability to have enough space for their building and not be so tight. There's a little more room to build at Oakview, but we are evaluating those now, and we'll come back to the board with a recommendation on those probably in January sometime. Again, there's the timelines to the elementary schools, again, with the goal of them being open in August of 2020. Design has to get started pretty soon. We want to be able to start construction this spring, this summer, probably looking at 12 months to build those out. These are small additions, should be very easily be able to complete it in 12 months. But we're looking kind of the same timeline as what we were with the facility here at the high school. There's an aerial view of where we're looking at the addition on Southdale. There aren't many options there. In fact, that may be the only option there, is to extend that eastern wing of the building backwards onto what is now the hard surface playground, looking at probably adding 4 playgrounds there. And then we will relocate the hard surface playground probably there just to the east of the playground equipment playground there now. Still maintain the drive across the back of the building. So that's an easy addition. It's an easy space. The space kind of just available to do that there. Orchard Park, there's not as much space here. This is what we've determined is probably the most logical location to put an addition there, is to add a hallway coming down beside the gym, the newer gym that was built in the early 2000s, and then build some classrooms at the end of that hallway. Fairly low usage area there. Probably take up a little bit of there's some different configurations that addition could then take on. Obviously, we're not as far along, and I don't have any floor plans or anything like that of these elementary additions, but just some idea of where those might occur on the site at this time. Oakview, the location that we're looking at potentially there is in where the kindergarten programs are located now in that portion of the building, just building further back down that hallway near where the care center is today, back from where the kindergarten buildings are. Another item we talked about during the course of that campaign is the door barricade installations. I just want to let you know a little bit about the process we have to go through that. This was a change. These were not allowed to be installed for a long time because of building and fire codes. Those have changed, and it is under the building code, not the fire code, that these have to be approved. So we are required for an architect to submit plans to the building department indicating what these devices are and everywhere that they're going to be located. We're in the process of working through that. Chief building official will have to approve those plans and issue new certificate of occupancies before we can install these devices on all the doors in the system, in the district. So we're looking at installing these on all the classroom doors and other selected doors like offices and those kind of things. We have something that just came up. The Ohio Bureau of Workmen's Compensation has a grant for some safety funding, which looks like it could be a perfect fit for this project, up to a $40,000 grant. So we are looking into that for some possible funding to fund a significant portion of this project, actually. These are what the devices look like. I think I presented these to the board earlier in the year. We've installed a couple of these at Beavertown, although they don't meet code today, just to see what they were like and see if we were comfortable with them. The middle picture there shows under the light switch where the device would be installed. On the left there, it shows it just sitting beside the bracket that it goes in, and you just drop it in that bracket and then secures the door with the door frame, and they are very, very strong. So once that is secured, that door is not going to open. There is a device which comes with, which you purchase from the company as well, that will allow you to open that from the outside of the door, which is something we wanted. So if a door gets barricaded when it shouldn't be, or when first responders come in, rather than, typically people don't want to open the door, even if they say the police are outside or first responders are outside. They would have the device then to start opening doors and rescuing people from the classroom. So that's an important component as well, is that some of the devices you cannot open the door barricade from the outside of the door, but that's something that we wanted. Just to give you a little idea of some of the things that are upcoming, what's going to come in front of the board in the next few months. For the elementary projects, we are going to have a different architect work on that project. Richley and Associates have taken on some other big projects and have declined to do that the smaller elementary jobs. So we have to put an RFQ out for architect for the elementary project, as well as for the construction manager for the projects. Those will go out in December. We have to select an architect. We can do that from paper submissions of RFQs, or we can go through an interview process, either one with architects. For the construction manager, you have to go through an interview process. You have to interview 3 of them and select a construction manager for the project by law. So we will hope to come back February, March at the latest for approvals of both of those, architect and construction manager. Probably will be in February, so to keep the projects moving forward. So, can I answer any questions on any or all of that?
Thank you for all of
Anybody?
that information.
No questions?
I
Thank
just-
you.
If I could, I want to thank Ken very much. He's really spearheaded this, and so much of this has been since November 3rd, but most of it, the conversations took place way before November 3rd in anticipation of a successful levy that we did pass, which allowed funding for some of these projects. The other thing for the board is it's really amazing if you think about so many of these things have happened also since 16. That is very important. You know, we're talking 26, 28, 29 months, 30 months. That's aggressive. And so all the programs that we promised we would do, will be coming forward for our students. And again, I want to thank Ken. Thank you. Ken's worked really hard.
You're welcome.
Put a lot of effort in on this with his relationships, his ability to communicate, and it's going to wind up being really good things for our students. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Okay. Are there any other recognition and reports? Nope. Moving on to item 7, board committee reports. Does anyone have anything to share tonight? Nope. Okay. Moving on to item number 8. We do not have any hearing of the public regarding agenda items. Item number 9, information for decision making. Our next Board of Education meeting will take place on January 8th, 2019. It will start at 6 p.m. We will have an organizational meeting as well as a regular meeting at that time, and it will be held here at the recital hall at Kettering Fairmont High School. Item number 10, there are no decisions of the board. Moving on to item 11, Human Resource Services Agenda.
I move,
Oh, go ahead, Lori.
I move we accept the Human Resource Services agenda with the following addendum to 11B, number 5, and 11O. And I move for approval.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, Mr. Inskeep, is there anything that you would like to add?
just like to ask the board to approve the Human Resource Services agenda as written, please.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Inskeep? Hearing none, Mr. Shaw, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Parks?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Ambrose?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes. Item number 12, Business Services Agenda.
I move that we amend the agenda to include purchase of the property to be included under this particular business services agenda for Mr. Inskeep to address.
Is that a motion to approve with the addendum?
It is, thank you.
Okay. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, Mr. Inskeep, is there anything?
No,
Would you like
ma'am.
to add?
Just like to ask that you approve the business services agenda as written, please.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Inskeep? Hearing none, Mr. Shaw, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Ambrose?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Parks?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes. Item number 13, we do not have anything underneath of the Office of the Treasurer agenda. Item number 14, we do not have any instructional services agenda items for this evening. Item number 15, we do not have any hearing of the public. Having no further business, this meeting is adjourned.